In this case, I read the material first, Zak's amazing script. I gave it to David. I actually sort of talked him into doing it because I just thought it was so crazy and modern and fresh, and an opportunity for him to do something that was more character-based than action-based as far as his career goes. It's still got a lot of action in it, but it's a little bit less than some of the other movies that he's made. And I just fell in love with every single character, and I was like, we got to do this. So that's where the producing started, and I talked him into it. And then we ended up, putting a great cast together. And a great filmmaking team who is, filled with a lot of the people we make a lot of our movies with. And then trying to make it during COVID and figuring out, all of those obstacles with Sony and, the amazing production team that we put together. So it was really soup to nuts on this one, producing. It was crazy. I mean, the process of putting the movie together was super complicated, as they always are, but in this case, maybe even a little bit more. We are mostly location-based shooters, so that notion that we were going to use LED lights and shoot this virtual production thing was okay, and then what that entailed, which is the beautiful part of it is that you have to spend a lot of time up front developing the environment so that you can play it while you're shooting it and then not have to replace it. And that's a lot of forethinking of what your backgrounds are going to look like, and we didn't even get to go to Japan, so it was based on sort of research and our amazing production designer and visual effects team, our production designer David Schoeneman, and our effects team putting the sort of ideas of what our version of sort of Tokyo in our world sort of could look like before we even started, barely making the trains, and then just the construction of putting the series of screens around the train and how much square footage that takes and how much kind of planning that takes was just honestly a feat of engineering that was just really super inspiring. How that came to be is really David Schoeneman's idea. He's we got to have a mascot, and he showed us these trains of Pokemon or Hello Kitty that actually exist on bullet trains in Japan, and they theme it up to the 11, they just go all the way, and it's wild, and everything's there, and the kids go on those cars, and they make whole trips to just go on the car and be in that world. And we were wouldn't it be funny if we created a world that was based on this little bugger that we create? And he got a Japanese artist as part of his team to start conceptualizing with him, and we had a lot to choose from, but it ended up that the pink furry ears really took it home for us. I think we want people to experience just the wild ride that it is for what it is. Let go, let it take you on the crazy gonzo journey that it takes you on. And then if you want to take back a couple of little notes about, sort of fate and, the ways of the world, and that it's, okay to not be in total control, that's okay too. But I think it is an absolute theatrical, original, brilliant, bold, beautiful film that has actually more to tell in the storytelling than you would ever in the visual storytelling than you would ever expect.